Welcome to Biblio Bistro.
My name is Megan Jazak, and I'm a registered dietitian and community health educator with the Portage Health Foundation. And today I have with me Michael Sinitis, who is the program coordinator and chef extraordinaire with the Portage Lake District Library. For those of you that are new to Biblio Bistro, this is a cooking series in partnership with the foundation and the library that features simple recipes with seasonal and local produce that are budget friendly.
Megan, what are we cooking today?
Michael, we are cooking a Keweenaw Berry Jam made by Margaret Hanson, who is our guest today for our holiday episode.
Awesome.
Margaret, you want to come on over and tell us all about your jam?
Sure. So we are cooking a Keweenaw Berry Jam, and we froze some Keweenaw berries that we had picked in the Keweenaw. The Keweenaw is just such a beautiful place for all kinds of berries. And we've already done a lot of our own work for us by freezing them first, because freezing helps macerate the berries and break down the cell walls in the berries. So it's a much quicker cooking process when you have them frozen.
I didn't even know that.
And we have equal parts here, cups berries to sugar, and we're just going to put them in our little heated pot.
And I did get this going for us first.
Okay.
So I'll do the honors.
Okay.
Because if this goes south, it'll only go south on me.
Okay, deal.
Oh, wow. Now, Margaret.
That's how you do it.
Margaret is with TeachtoTaste. Do you want to tell us a little bit about TeachtoTaste, Margaret?
Sure. I do a lot of cooking classes and do farmers markets in the area. I help promote local food. I'm an eater. I love to eat, but I love to cook as well. And I just want to help people get back into their kitchens and gardens and really cook some beautiful things and make some great family memories. Yeah.
That's lovely.
Yeah. So we have our berries in here, and they're warming up. And I'm going to just give them a little stir.
Will you let that get hot before the sugar, or can the sugar go in right away?
The sugar can go in right away.
And we're not going to use pectin, right, Margaret?
We're not using pectin, and I personally don't use pectin in my jam because there is a ratio from acid to pectin that you're really looking for to set your jam. And through all the years of making jam, I know those ratios pretty well. I'm very comfortable with the jam that I make. But if you really are new to jam making, you can use pectin, a powdered pectin you can buy at the store. It comes in these little boxes. They're like blue and pink and yellow. And you would have to follow the manufacturer's directions to the T.
Sure.
To really get a nice gel on your jam. Sure. But we are not going to use that today. We're just using good old-fashioned fruit and sugar.
Yay.
Mm-hmm. And fruit naturally contains pectin, right? So that's part of why we're able to do it without it, as long as we make sure that we get it to the right temperature. Am I picking up on that correctly?
That's right.
Okay.
But different types of fruits have different amounts of pectin. Our blueberries and strawberries in here are fine. Strawberries are a low pectin fruit, but blueberries are pretty good. And then we're going to add our sugars in after we kind of cook our berries a little bit to help with that pectin process, to really get that nice gel.
So the only kind of jam I've ever made without pectin was marmalade. And I was shocked at how thick it got.
Right.
Like, you could bounce it off the wall. It's really crazy. So there must be a lot of pectin in oranges.
There is an intense amount of pectin in the orange peel. That is where, right? So when you make a marmalade, you use the peel, the pith, the orange itself, you use the whole thing to make marmalade. And it's a process, as you knew.
Oh, yeah. I was into it for a while.
Yeah. It's a little
whole
different.
Bottle of wine. That's how far into it I was.
Perfect. But with marmalade, you do have that natural pectin in there. And yes, it's so thick.
Yeah.
And it preserves just such a long time with that lovely pectin in there.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And jam and jelly are a little bit different. So the three types are marmalade, jam, and jelly. And jelly is when you strain all of the solids out of your fruit and just use the juice and add the sugar in. So you're using the liquids instead of any of that lovely fiber.
Yeah.
I wonder
why.
Why do people go to? It sounds like a lot of trouble. Plus, you're getting rid of stuff that is good for you.
It was very fancy. So jellies are very fancy and use them as glazes for things. But
sure.
also some people can't have seeds.
Yep. And I know
Sure.
for some people too, textures are a big deal. So part of it too could be like, for example, the strawberries, like the skin that's still left in the blueberries, it's off-putting to people. And same thing, some people can't tolerate the skins either. So as lovely as they are for the fiber content, which as for any of you who've watched any of our other episodes, you know I love the skins on almost every type of
Don't
vegetable.
you dare peel
Yep, 'cause
anything.
that's where all that lovely fiber is. For some people, it doesn't sit well. So
Yeah. I have good news. I see a little action in here. Is
All
it
right.
time for the sugar?
It's a little bubbly. Sometimes when you're really trying to concentrate that flavor, you would boil off all of that extra liquid. So it can take, sometimes 45 minutes to really boil off that extra liquid so you have that concentrated flavor.
So I actually don't want the lid on.
Yep,
If we're
you're-
looking to get rid of liquid.
Right, you're trying to evaporate all that liquid and it's
Sure.
starting to bubble here. And we're just gonna wait until it evaporates enough, thickens enough, and we'll mash it on down to get that nice mashy,
Gotcha.
Right
And
on.
then the sugar goes in.
and then the sugar goes in.
Gotcha. Okay.
well, for those who haven't frozen berries at home, it's really simple. So what you do, you pick it right from whether it's a field, you've grown it yourself, you've gotten it at the store, but it's fresh picked, and you rinse it off, and then you make sure it's nice and dry. I just used a cookie sheet, and you lay them out flat, and then throw them in the freezer till they're fully frozen, and then you put it in a Ziploc bag, date it, and that's it. So I don't know, for me it was something where it seemed intimidating, and the second I started looking it up, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna stock my freezer with this all year. It's so simple.
I feel like that's a very Keweenaw thing to have like bags of berries in your freezer, but make sure you label them
Yep.
from year to
Yeah.
year and
Yep.
flavor to flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is doing well. I do see a few berries that have little green tips on them. Sometimes I even add in really green berries into, I would never use like a really red ripe strawberry, or when they're like over the edge and you're like, I'll make jam.
Yep.
Those are like the worst berries to make jam out of because you're always looking for that high pectin, which are like the underripe fruits.
Okay.
High pectin, really tart sweet. So you're looking for that contrasting flavor in your jam. Those really red ripe ones, those use fresh. Put those on your strawberry shortcake. Those will be delicious, nice and
yeah.
sweet.
Nice. We've got a good boil going on.
Good.
And you said that we could switch up. So let's say we didn't have blueberries and strawberries. We could use different berries and it would still work with this type of setup, right? Most berries, as long as there's some pectin.
Yep, and even apples. Apples have quite a bit of pectin in them, so that's why you make apple butter, things like that. It thickens really nicely. So strawberries, nectarines, peaches, these things don't have a lot of pectin in them. So it's great things to add another berry in there to add that pectin in there. Or even I squeeze a half a lemon in and I put the whole lemon in there, or the half lemon in there because it's that skin with the pectin to add it in there, and it gives that little sweet tartness
Right.
to it, and it's just that extra pectin, that extra like it will gel. Like you're always looking like, will it gel? I don't know. Yeah. I'm gonna add in the sugar now that our berries are nice and macerated. This is cane sugar. You can use beet white sugar. From the store, it's just, you'll find it on your shelves there. But remember to add enough sugar to get that gelling effect. You may be tempted to be like, I'm gonna just be a little more scant with sugar because I don't want it as sweet. But make sure you put enough sugar in there. It's gonna helping with your gelling. So I'm just gonna stir that in there and make sure it gets up to the right temperature. So we are gonna use a digital thermometer. Can you show me how to do that one? It's a meat thermometer. All right.
Go.
Thank you. All right.
And it's going to take a while to get to 215, isn't
Yep.
it?
It's gonna take a while. Make sure that you keep stirring your jam though, because now that the sugar is incorporated, it can scorch or burn, and that ruins the whole pot.
Right.
Yep. All that time picking those berries, you don't want to ruin it at
that
this
would be
point.
so sad.
Yep. We have a little bit more time to stir that in there.
Yeah,
Get
and
that hot.
for the nutrition perspective, so we talked a little bit about keeping the skins on. That's going to give us more fiber. The berries that we chose today are strawberries and blueberries. Blueberries in a lot of blue type foods like eggplant, red cabbage, those have a particular plant compound called anthocyanins, and those are linked with mood and memory.
Oh.
So make sure you're getting your purple veggies or fruits in. And then strawberries are very high fiber. They're also a really good source of vitamin C. Most berries, most fruits, honestly, you're probably going to hit your vitamin C target pretty quick. But yeah, and it's also known with heart health. So heart, brain, mood.
You good?
Yeah, all sorts of goodies in there.
The whole package. It's already starting to look different after the sugar, I see.
Yeah.
Looking more yummy.
Yep, it's that chemical process. That sugar is starting to draw those juices even more out of the fruit that's been macerated, and it'll start to get really lovely and syrupy. And when your jam is done, you can put a little dollop on a plate, a cool plate, and you can run a spoon through it. And as soon as you can see that jelliness or that jamness, you can stop. The easiest way I find is a thermometer to make sure that it comes to temperature. But that is how my grandmother did it. She did the jelly test across
you
a cool
get to
place.
get your finger in the jelly.
You get to taste it to see it. Yeah,
yeah.
to get to taste it. All right, so I'm at 2:15. I'm at that jam stage. The bubbles are collecting together, and there's a little pink foam on top. You can skim the pink foam. The pink foam has this great folklore with it that it is like for little children. So you would skim it off and put it on toast for little kids. But it actually is all the dirt and impurities coming out of the berries. So do skim it off. It's just like things out of the field. You can see the little hairs off the strawberries coming off. I don't think it'll really hurt them if you put them on.
I was one of those kids.
Okay.
And I'm still here.
Perfect.
Probably hopes that it's heated.
So now that I'm going to turn this off, we're at temperature, we're going to fill our jars. I have a little glass mason type jar. There's different brands that you can use. This is an 8-ounce jar. It contains a cup of jam. And then we're going to put our lid on. We have a self-sealing lid. It comes in 2 parts. There is a ring and then a self-sealing lid that has this rubber gasket on there. And after we fill our jar, we're gonna wipe it clean with a towel. And we're gonna leave a little bit of headspace, a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch. I would even err on a 1/2 inch. The more space is a little bit better because you have a better suction and a better seal.
Sure.
Right, that hot jam, ideally you would have a hot jar and you would put your lid on a clean lip.
Yep.
And then finger tighten, which means like just the tips of your fingers, you would tighten your jar. Because then we are going to seal it using a water bath method.
Gotcha.
And the water bath method is a classic jam making preservation method. You could put this jam, cool it down, put it into the refrigerator, and eat it within a week, and you'd be fine.
Sure.
But really, we've just cooked all the bacteria out of our food. We have a clean, sterile jar. We're going to preserve this beautiful jam for a whole year to up to a 1.5 years in a clean, sterile environment by doing this water bath method, because you want it to be shelf stable. So I'm just going to carefully fill a jar. Sometimes you can use different tools to help you fill jars.
Oh yeah, my grandma had a really nice one.
Like a little collar.
A little collar that fits down in the jar. Yeah. I'll walk behind you and get a wet towel, because I think that's what you're going to want
Yeah.
next, isn't it?
Beautiful. I love the color.
The texture. All right, and I have enough headspace there. I'm going to use a little more.
Yum.
Right, and a little wet towel. You're just cleaning off that rim so that rubber gasket has a really tight fitting seal. Okay, and we have our sterilized lid and
Finger
okay,
tight.
so pretty finger tight, not really tight because we're gonna do our water bath. You want the air to even escape even more out of there.
Now, in terms of the water bath, this is what we pulled out because this is what we had. Do you want to cover the jar?
You have to cover the jar.
You have to cover the jar. So,
I think that'll work.
we're
Don't
going
look.
with that.
We're doing it? Okay.
We're going for it.
Okay.
So it would be something like this.
So ideally at home, if you have a little bit of a larger pot,
Yeah.
that would work
Yeah.
best.
Yep. You should cover your jar lid an inch or two to really make sure that you're getting that hot water around your jar. And if you boil it too much and the water evaporates and goes below the lid, you run the risk of overheating your jar and it exploding.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's science in the worst way possible
Yes, yeah.
in your kitchen. Yeah. So he's just gonna fill it up and kind of graze it over the top. And what the hot water bath does, and you can do it for, now that we have hot jars, we have hot jam, and we're gonna boil it in hot water. You boil it on a roaring boil for 5 minutes.
Okay.
And that's strawberry jam, right? Different jams and different preserves require different timing. I've even preserved eggs, and you can do meat. You can preserve doing different methods, like a hot oil method. You can even do dry canning by putting it into the oven. I can flour and beans, extra beans and things like that preserve for years in jars, which are really nice.
Wow.
So there are kind of, like, canning is a science unto itself, but
Yeah.
it's really cool. This is an easy one though. We could do this one.
So we could get away with this, but obviously,
Yeah.
if you had a pot an inch or two higher,
Yes.
that would be the way to go.
It would be the way to go. You would boil it, make sure it's the roaring boil. You would take it out with tongs and rest it on your countertop. And what you're listening for as it cools down is that ping, You tighten your jars. Sorry, when we take them out, we tighten them as tight as you possibly can get it. And then you'll hear this ping. Your jar lid has a little bit of an air seal to it.
And you want that down so you won't,
Ooh.
it just
Yeah,
does.
awesome. That's a great sound. That's a great
This is
sound.
very satisfying.
It is. And my grandmother would line all these jars up, and she would go with her fingertip and ting each one, right, to make sure. It's all about these sights and sounds and these emotions, right, with cooking.
Yep.
And these jar lids are really great and very handy. They have a date space there, and you would put the type of jam that you would make and the date. And the date is important because your seals are only really good for a year.
Oh, wow.
I know, even though you're like, oh, I made it 3 years ago and it was delicious, but they can only guarantee you 1 year life. So careful. Some ways that you know that your jam has spoiled is if there is mold on top. And that is just either active water in your jam, we didn't boil enough water off of it, or it didn't seal. Because water is wonderful, sugar is wonderful. It's very antimicrobial. As soon as you get it under a percentage of water, that sugar is antimicrobial. That's why honey doesn't go bad, or things with really high sugar content, low water content don't go bad. This is what we're creating here. This is the environment that we're creating to keep all those gross bugs out of there. Another thing that can go wrong is it doesn't gel. And you're like, oh, it didn't gel. To solve that problem, you could cook it again, okay, to reduce the water.
Take it all out of the jars.
All out of the
Start
jars.
off. Yeah.
Sterilize them, clean them, sterilize them, do it all over again. And that's the easiest way to fix the problem. The other way is just put it all in the freezer.
Right.
And then you have this runny jam in the freezer to use for all of your baking for Christmas.
Well, speaking of baking, we do have some jam that's already set and ready to eat. And we have a couple different things that we're gonna eat it with today. So we have some lovely cookies that Margaret made for us. So to go along with the holiday theme, that is a great use of jam. If you're looking for other ways to use it that are a little bit more on the healthy side, though everything in moderation, definitely cookies. That definitely fits into a healthy diet as well. But if you're looking for a different way to use that leftover jam, especially let's say like you decide you don't want to do the water bath and you just have it for a week in the fridge. If you have your family over, you can actually pour it instead of a sweetener on oatmeal. So we have an orange spiked oatmeal for you guys to try.
Let's try it.
All right.
I thought she was going to start with the cookies.
I know.
I know.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
Leave it to the dietitian. That's right.
No fun, guys. Okay, so I'll just do a little and then
Yum.
So this has a cinnamon stick in it, orange peel, and these are steel cut oats. So I actually did it in the slow cooker for about 4 hours.
Oh.
And I just followed the instructions. So depending what kind, these were like a quick cooking steel cut oats. I did a combo of the quick cooking and then like the plain old steel cut, because to be honest, I didn't look and see, but this was a quick cooking. So.
It smells really yummy before we even
Yeah,
put
you know,
the
I
jam
thought it
on.
would be, orange and cinnamon always reminds me of the holidays. So I
Yeah.
thought that would be a nice spin-off.
Michael, can I spoon you a scoop of jam?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
It's hot.
Oh, yay.
You can use jam in so many different ways. I love that it just is that flavor of the Copper Country. We do a thimbleberry jam on Christmas Day. It's like we work so hard and it's so special and it takes so much work to get thimbleberries that it's just such a special occasion to have that flavor of summertime when it's snowing so hard.
I can never get enough of the thimbleberries together. I just eat them walking down the driveway, and that's it. That's as far as it's ever gotten for me. I think if they all got ripe at the same time on the plant, I think I would have a better chance.
Yeah.
But that sort of successive thing gets me.
And I'm going to show
ready.
you guys what the thickened up, this is still cooling a little bit here, but if you guys want to see what the thickened product looks like before I put my mouth in the spoon, I'm going to show you guys kind of
Jammy.
thicker.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Syrupy.
Syrupy. Nice.
This is super yummy.
It is. Your cinnamon and the orange zest in your oatmeal is delicious.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you know, I'm always looking for new things to do in the holiday season especially, but I think this is a great way if you're kind of craving that summer flavor from the Keweenaw berries, but you still want that holiday. It's kind of like a mishmash of the seasons, but in the best way possible.
Oh,
Delicious. Thank you so much.
I know, it's so yummy, and it's going to get me through to dinner time. It's breakfast for dinner.
Well, now that we've had our breakfast, I think it's time for dessert. Would we all agree? Okay. These are the lovely cookies that Margaret has prepared for us, all with jam. So tell us a little bit about these cookies, Margaret.
Sure. I do a lot of Scandinavian baking. That's my heritage and my background. And locally, that's kind of the flavors that we have.
Yep.
I use a lot of cardamom and warm spices in the wintertime, but these are my favorite because my kids get involved. We have wonderful memories making these. These are just jam thumbprint cookies. It's a really simple butter dough. It has butter, lots of butter.
Yay.
Lots of butter,
We
really
like
good
butter.
because there's only a few ingredients. Really good butter, a little bit of sugar, and a little bit of vanilla, and you just make this very tender dough. You don't even have to refrigerate it, and they make these little balls. Just try to keep them little with kids making them. Sometimes they get a little large, and then they stick their finger in them and they fill them with jam. I rolled a few of them in some pecans, some in some pearl sugar, and just left some plain. You can make a really cute Linzer cookie using the same dough
Yeah.
with strawberry jam and some pearl sugar. And then these are a traditional Swedish tart. You're using jam. They use jam in so many beautiful pastries in the wintertime. It makes a holiday cookie tray look so festive and bright and flavorful, and your eye always goes to those fresh flavors.
Oh, they look like a party to me.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
They're so gorgeous.
Thank you. You should try one.
Yeah, of course.
You don't have to twist mine up.
Yeah, I know.
I'm
The
going
question
right
is
in.
which one. Now, Margaret, is there flour in the dough as well? Or is it just butter and sugar?
A little bit of flour.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, you're okay. I've made a few flourless
Yeah.
things, and I was like, how is that holding up?
Yep. So it's just those three things. It's butter, tiny bit of sugar. Really, what you're tasting is the sweetness from the jam, not from the sweetness of the sugar. And then the flour as well to kind of make it into a dough. The recipe is on my website. It's just a really basic one. We do the 12 days of cookies during Christmas, which are really fun. And then I post a lot of things about different types of things that you can make during Christmas. This year's theme is I don't have time for that because we don't have time for that during the holidays. It's so crazy.
all over that.
And yeah, right. And I'm a young mom, and I have to either do things that only happen within this time limit because everyone's attention spans are pretty short.
So, Margaret, if people want to connect with you, what is the best way for them to do that?
The easiest way to connect with me is online through TeachtoTaste.com. I have a website there that has a lot of these different recipes and talks about local food, but also encourages you to get back into your kitchen and get back into your garden and growing fresh flavors for your families. I'm also at the farmers markets locally, the Calumet Farmers Market, and I am online on Instagram and Facebook. I do a lot of local cooking classes. Right now I'm teaching 2 high school, 2 middle school, and 2 elementary school and a preschool class. So sometimes it's just chaos, but it is so fun. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for coming.
Yeah,
and
thanks
Thank you so much.
hanging out
This was
with
great.
us.
Yes.
If you'd like to tune in and see our other episodes, as well as get the shopping list and the full recipe, you can go to pldl.org/biblio-bistro. And for any additional information you're looking for on the recipe, whether that's the price per serving, and information about local farmers market, you can click the show notes, which is on the YouTube page as well, which is on that PLDL website.
And if you want to share any pictures of when you're using the recipes, you can just use the hashtag Biblio Bistro on any social media that you use.
Until next time, bon appetit.